I wanna be an airborne ranger.
Hey Rangers, welcome back. Today we're going to shoot the first episode in a new series where we're going to transform regular entree meals into vegan alternatives. We call it Veganize It. We'll do all the hard work, we'll conduct the research, we'll run through the trials and errors, and then we'll put together recipes that you can easily replicate. So if you have a favorite meal you would like us to veganize, let us know and we'll work it into the series. So let's get started with this week's entry into our veganization of our favorite meals. Vegan Shepherd pie. Okay, let's go over the ingredients. We've got 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, 4 cloves of garlic minced. We've got a large white onion finely chopped. We've got a cup of water. We've got a 1/3 cup of dry red wine. A 1.5 cups of Cremini mushrooms finely chopped. We've got about 2 to 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. We've got about 3 cups of veggie ground round. We've got 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, vegan Worcestershire sauce. 2 tablespoons of vegetable bouillon. We've got 2 carrots, large carrots, peeled and diced. In here we have spices. We have a bay leaf, a teaspoon of mustard powder, a tablespoon of fresh rosemary, and about 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. Over here we have 1/2 cup of frozen corn and 1/2 cup of frozen green peas. And then in the front here we have a 1/4 cup of non-dairy milk and 3 tablespoons of vegan butter, which we will add to about 1.5 pounds of potatoes that have been diced and boiled, and we'll make our mash out of that. I've got my induction cooktop on medium high, so I'm going to get the oil and get that heated up. Add the onions. And the garlic. This is going to cook for about 3 to 5 minutes until the onions get translucent. Then I'm going to put the mushrooms in and let those soften and shrink a little bit inside. The mushrooms have reduced, so we're going to add our veggie ground round, our wet ingredients, and our spices. Now we're going to mix this up and let it simmer covered for about 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and get the carrots and the peas and corn. Make this a good stir, and then we're going to let this simmer for about another 15 minutes. We're going to check it every couple of minutes to make sure it doesn't get too dry. We'll add water about 1 teaspoon at a time. We want it to be moist but not wet or soggy. While the filling's simmering, we're going to go ahead and get the potatoes mashed and prepared for the topping on the pie. Earlier we had boiled about 4 large potatoes, and they're good and soft right now, about 15 minutes. We'll go ahead and add the butter and the non-dairy milk. We'll get it mashed up. We want it creamy, smooth consistency. Little chunky's okay, but you know, mashed potatoes, however you like your mashed potatoes. We have a 3-liter casserole dish, about 11 by 7. We're going to get the filling in, spread it out nice and smooth, top it with the mashed potatoes. We'll serrate the top of the mashed potatoes with the fork so we get a nice golden crust on it. We'll put it into the oven, preheated at about 400 degrees, and we'll let it bake for just about 25-30 minutes, and then we should be good to go. We're going to get the bay leaf out to start with, and we're going to go ahead and load up our casserole dish. And I want to get this, I'd like to get all of the filling in there, but it may be a little much, we'll see. But I want to get it to where it's at least a ½ an inch to an inch from the top of the casserole dish, because that'll give us plenty of room to get our mash in the pan, in the casserole dish, and to seal the edges. We want to seal the edges because if you don't, then as it cooks, the juices from the filling will come out the top and leak onto your mashed potatoes. So you want to get a nice good seal. Okay, so spread this out, get this nice and smooth. Oh, that looks wonderful. And it smells absolutely fantastic. All right, now let's get the mashed potatoes. And we'll scoop these in, start spreading them out. Again, you want to get this sealed up pretty good, so put a little extra over here. Now we're going to serrate the edges, or the top of it, just break it up so it'll have something to kind of crust up a little bit on. I think that'll be good right like that. And now into the oven for about 25 minutes at 400 degrees. It's been cooking for about 25 minutes now, so let's go ahead and get it out and get it on the table. We're going to let it sit for about 15 minutes, cool down a little bit, settle, and then we'll be ready to get it plated and check how it looks. It's been 15 minutes. Let's go ahead and get this plated. Well, this really turned out delicious. It's got a real hearty tone to it, and a meaty texture like a good stew, and the potatoes with a nicely brown crust on it just ties it all together. If you like this recipe, go ahead, subscribe. We'll have more recipes like this in this series and in some of the other activities that we're doing. Now, one of the reasons we're doing this is because we're veganizing regular meals, so you have an alternative. And what is vegan about this primarily is in the potatoes. The real recipe calls for milk and butter, and of course we used Miyoko's butter and Oatly oat milk, and it came out fantastic. Also, Shepherd's pie usually calls for lamb, and cottage pie would be with ground beef. We used just a vegetable-based ground beef, and it just came out fantastic. So those are the three items that really make this from a regular meat eater's shepherd's pie to a vegan shepherd's pie. So give it a shot. It's not difficult, and let us know how it worked out for you, and we'll see you next time.